called Lisa Balance, who was working in California, also started looking for ocean hotspots, but not for fish. What she was interested in was marine mammals, things like seals.
Câu 35 âm điền là mammals. Có dẫn chứng là what she was interested in was marine mammals, things like seals. Có nghĩa là điều cô ấy quan tâm là động vật có vú biển, những thứ như là hải cẩu. Nên là câu 35 em điền là mammals.
And she found 3 places in the oceans which were hotspots, and what these had in common was that these hotspots were all located at boundaries between ocean currents. And this seems to be the sort of place that has lots of the plankton that some of these species feed on. So now people who want to protect the species that are endangered need to get as much information as possible. For example, there's an international project called the Census of Marine Life. They've been surveying oceans all over the world, including the Arctic. One thing they found there, which stunned other researchers, was that there were large numbers of species which live below the ice, sometimes under a layer up to 20 meters thick. Some of these species had never been seen before. They've even found species of octopus living in
Câu 36. Có dẫn chứng là one thing they found there which stunned other researchers was that there were large number of species which live below the ice. Có nghĩa là một cái điều mà họ tìm thấy ở đó khiến các nhà nghiên cứu thấy kinh ngạc là có rất nhiều loài sống ở dưới lớp băng. Thì under thì sẽ bằng như là below, và đáp án ở đây là ice.
these conditions. And other scientists working on the same project but researching very different habitats on the ocean floor have found large numbers of species congregating around volcanoes, attracted to them by the warmth and nutrients there. However, biologists still don't know how serious the threat to their survival is for each individual species. So a body called the Global Marine Species Assessment is now creating a list of endangered species on land, so they consider things like the size of the population, how many members of one species there are in a particular place, and then they look at their distribution in geographical terms. Although this is quite difficult when you're looking at fish because they're so mobile. And then thirdly, they calculate the rate at which the decline of the species is happening.
Câu 37 em điền là decline. Có dẫn chứng là and then thirdly they calculate the rate at which the decline of the species is happening. Có nghĩa là và cái thứ ba là họ tính toán tốc độ suy giảm của các loài đang diễn ra. Thì câu này là the rate of thì bằng với lại the rate at with the, còn cái đằng sau là decline thì là rate of decline bằng với lại the rate at with the decline.
So far, only 1,500 species have been assessed, but they want to increase this figure to 20,000. For each one they assess, they use the data they collect on that species to produce a map showing its distribution.
Câu 38 điền là map, và có dẫn chứng là for each one they assess, they use the data they collect on the species to produce a map showing its distribution. Có nghĩa là đối với mỗi cái loài mà họ đánh giá thì họ sử dụng dữ liệu thu thập được về loài đó để tạo ra cái bản đồ thể hiện sự phân bố của loài đó. Thì giống như là Want the access thì bằng với lại to access. Còn make a distribution map thì bằng với lại là produce a map showing its distribution.
Ultimately, they will be able to use these to figure out not only where most species are located, but also where they are most threatened. So, finally, what can be done to retain the diversity of species in the world's oceans? Firstly, we need to set up more reserves in our oceans, places where marine species are protected. We have some, but not enough. In addition, to preserve species such as leatherback turtles, which live out in the high seas but have their nesting sites on the American coast, we need to create corridors for migration.
Câu 39 Liêm Điền là migration, bởi vì là có dẫn chứng là người ta trong bài thì có là establish migration corridors, còn trong bài thì người ta nói là create corridors for migration, thì hai cái đó đồng nghĩa nên là câu 39 Liêm Điền migration.
So they can get from one area to another safely. As well as this, action needs to be taken to lower the levels of fishing quotas to prevent overfishing of endangered species. And finally, there's the problem of bycatch. This refers to the catching of unwanted fish by fishing boats. They're returned to the sea, but they're often dead or dying. If these commercial fishing boats used equipment which was more selective so that only the fish wanted for consumption were caught, this problem.
Câu 40 Liêm Điền là consumption, là bởi vì ở trong bài là catch fish only for the purpose of consumption. Còn trong transcript thì người ta nói là only the fish wanted for consumption were caught. Thì hai cái này đồng nghĩa nên là câu 40 em chọn đáp án là consumption.